Coming up on NABJ News, results are in. NABJ has new officers.
And the other thing you did was call this a mess. He said, since you got me in this mess, if you don't want to be here, don't be here. But don't disrespect the story of my brother and my father.
Social media is blowing up after this tense exchange at an NABJ event. The anticipation of Omarosa's appearance before a packed room of journalists. Was this action appropriate?
As we prepare for Saturday night's Salute to Excellence Gala, NABJ is in motion to change the requirements for one of its awards.
NABJ News starts right now.
What's everybody?
Hello, I'm Alexis Wainwright.
And I'm Donnie Holloway. It's official. NABJ has two new members on the executive board.
Representative Kyra Azor received 66 votes, and Lawrence Malloy received 31. In the race for Vice President Broadcast, Gail Hurd received 168 votes, and Dorothy Tucker received 280 votes.
The remaining candidates on the ballot ran unopposed, including President Sarah Glover, who, because of a constitutional change, was able to run for a second term. About 1/10 of those eligible to vote actually did so. The new board is scheduled to hold their first meeting on Sunday.
Things got really heated during the panel, which included Omarosa, who spoke at the NABJ convention.
The controversial Trump aide is often a hot topic wherever she goes, and the NABJ convention is no different.
Whoever decided to invite Omarosa to participate on this panel made a mistake.
Columnist Roland Martin did not hold back his opinion.
That's where we made the mistake as an organization, to extend that invitation for this panel when really it's a separate conversation that should have been had.
Despite criticism, White House advisor Omarosa Manigault spoke today at the NABJ convention.
But don't be aggressive.
Organizers did not want to address the controversy surrounding Manigault's appearance, but convention goers were ready.
So I want to be there for the showdown, if it's going to be fireworks.
So if she's willing to come, we should make her welcome and treat her with professional respect. And we should hear what she has to say.
It doesn't matter to me. You know, it truly, it doesn't matter to me.
Still, some say Manigault's position as an aide to President Trump raises concerns.
A lot of our members are upset that she's coming here, and I don't blame those members, because what Omarosa represents is an administration with policies that do not fairly impact our communities.
Some people who shared that opinion did this during Omarosa's appearance at a workshop. Joining us now is Tanisha Bell, who was the producer of today's event. So what was your response when you found out that Omarosa was invited to speak at the convention?
Well, we all have varying opinions, and that's fine. And of course, people can be invited to speak at NABJ, and that's totally fine. I had no issues with that at all. I was the producer of the W.E.B. Du Bois plenary. The conversation was around Black and Blue, which is our young men in the streets today being killed at the hands of police officers across the country. And so because of the very sensitive nature of that conversation, my opinion was that we should place her elsewhere.
Now, did the event go as you expected it to?
Absolutely not. You just saw what happened. We wanted to have a real authentic conversation about what is happening in our justice system, the injustices that are happening, police officers who are getting off unfairly. But that was not the intention of the program.
And overall, what would you say was the energy in the room overall?
People came open-minded. People were there and they came open-minded, and our moderator, Ed Gordon, he was open, and things just eventually got tense when they didn't see eye to eye, and Omarosa was kind of dismissive to him, and then there was some movement on the stage, as you saw on the tape, and things just kind of went downhill from there.
All right, Tanisha, thanks so much for joining us today.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
The bar is so high. How
Women from two completely different families connected by police action shootings talked to a captive audience during the NABJ convention. Journalists, public relation experts, and others heard from Sandra Sterling, the aunt of Alton Sterling. In July 2016, two Baton Rouge police officers reportedly held down Alton Sterling, shooting him at a close range. The 37-year-old had a gun in his pocket. The mother of a second police action shooting victim joined her for the discussion at a NABJ booth. Both talked about being far from getting over the shootings.
As I went out there that day and I saw him laying on the ground and I saw that blood. But to see those videos every day, it was like I died with him. So I died every day for 365 days. I died every day with him. And that was the hardest.
In May, the Department of Justice announced that this would not file as criminal charges against the police officers involved in Alton Sterling's fatal shooting.
The 2017 NABJ Convention Career Fair will close this year with some great success records. Convention goers hoping to make a career move got their chance to put their best foot forward. NABJ news reporter Penelope Blackwell caught up with some of our members to get their feedback on the job fair.
I've enjoyed NABJ 2017. It's actually my first convention. Last year, this time I was starting a new job, so it was exciting to be able to come this year. It's been wonderful connecting with people that I've seen on television myself, mentors that I've looked up to, as well as people that I'd love to work with in the future, like several stations, parent companies represented here. So it's very collaborative, it's very open-minded, but it's also very easy breezy, which is consistent with the Big Easy. People are very friendly and accommodating, so it's been wonderful.
My time here has been great, very educational, because I am a recent graduate. And I've made a lot of connections and just learned a lot.
The recruiters also gave the career fair high grades.
Those that come prepared to get jobs, they have reels, have good questions like how can I help them and lead them in the right direction to what they need and what they're trying to get.
Yeah, she's amazing. As a recruiter with Reuters at the career fair here at NABJ, it's flooded with talent and young talent, older talent. It's a recruiter's dream, essentially. And having the ability to literally take from the cream of the crop and bring them on board is a dream come true. And knowing that we have that avenue here at NABJ is wonderful.
With the 2017 career fair behind them, many recruiters have promised to come back in 2018 when NABJ meets in Detroit. For NABJ News, I'm Penelope Blackwell.
As this conference is coming to a close, now may be the time to start planning for next year's convention. We know it can be expensive, especially for students. NABJ member Bené Wilson explains why starting early is key.
Start investing a year early. I started my fund for NABJ for Detroit in June. That's when I start saving my money so that I will have money and it's funded for the next year.
The Detroit chapter for NABJ will host a kickoff party Saturday night at the Hilton as the 2018 convention host.
Some big changes are on the way for one of NABJ's biggest awards. As LaCandace Brown explains, the change centers around who should be eligible for the award.
NABJ's Legacy Award has been a controversial topic at this year's convention. The award is presented every year at the Salute to Excellence Gala. Originally meant to be awarded to journalists whose careers outdated the existence of NABJ, some have argued that the original intent of the Legacy Award needs to be reinstituted.
All those in favor?
Robin Washington is the founding father of the Legacy Award. On Thursday, he introduced a motion for NABJ to reevaluate the criteria. As Ron Thomas prepares to receive the 2017 Legacy Award, NABJ voted to reinstate the original requirements to receive the award. Robin Washington is a freelance journalist and the Legacy Award founder. Washington introduced the motion at the NABJ business meeting, saying his original vision for the award had been lost.
Vanessa Williams was president at the time, and she said, you know, maybe we need a new category. And so we came up with Legacy to really honor those people who, you know, just did amazing things that happened maybe long before we were born.
Washington stresses his feelings toward the Legacy Award have nothing to do with recent recipient. He wants unknown journalists who have passed on to always be remembered.
And there's many, many people who have lived and died that will never know their stories or the world won't know their stories if we don't bring them out there. So I want to really emphasize that this has nothing to do with Ron Thomas, this year's honoree.
Veteran sports reporter Ron Thomas is director of the Journalism and Sports program at Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. He says receiving this award proves he's sticking to the key principles of journalism. He pushes his students to do the same.
I don't hammer away at it, but I do want them to come into the business thinking about having the power to make decisions and to sort of control content more than just being a content producer.
Next year, the Legacy Award will revert to its original qualifications and be given to journalists whose great careers have outdated NABJ.
Freelance writers are banding together at NABJ to organize a campaign to get paid for their work.
The writers held a meeting about a popular magazine refusing to pay their workers. NABJ News reporter Candace King joins us here in the studio with more.
NABJ issued a thumbs down award to Ebony magazine in July. However, by the end of this month, the magazine will have something else coming its way.
I haven't been paid. Freelance writer Shanita Hubbard turned in her articles to Ebony magazine, but she's still waiting to get paid.
I fought really hard to get one of my payments, and I'm still fighting really hard to get the balance of my money, so no, I haven't been paid the full amount yet.
Hubbard is one of 40 writers under the National Writers Union. Their group is preparing to file a lawsuit against the Ebony Media Organization and the Clear View Group for more than $50,000 in outstanding payments. They plan to meet at NABJ Saturday. Union President Larry Goldbetter believes freelancers are an unprotected working class.
Freelancers are not covered by U.S. labor law, are not covered by civil rights laws, are not treated like workers, and don't collect unemployment insurance or workers' compensation, and very often are just not paid.
With no paycheck, many writers like Tiffany Walden struggle to make ends meet.
To go a month without having that money come in is traumatic when you're, trying to pay your bills, especially people that have families. Like there's a few writers who have families that's missing way more money than I am, and I mean I can't imagine how that's tearing their family up.
The National Writers Union plans to file the lawsuit against Ebony by the end of August. In the meantime, the union says the number of unpaid writers coming forward is going up every day. For NABJ News, I'm Candace King.
Still ahead to come on NABJ News, remembering a pioneer in journalism.
We'll tell you how Jim Vance's legacy reached across generations and will continue in the future.
Storms popped up today, and I'll let you know after the break when they will probably show up again.
Higgins started building boats in New Orleans in 1931. Throughout the war, Higgins built 20,094 boats. Everyone in New Orleans either worked at Higgins, a relative worked at Higgins, or they knew someone that worked at Higgins. What was done here affected the entire world. The Higgins boats changed the strategy of modern warfare. He gave them the ability for the first time to be able to move men and material from ships at sea to open beaches. No longer did the enemy know where you were going to attack. New Orleanians should be incredibly proud of what this city did during World War II. Because of Mr. Higgins, we saved probably hundreds and hundreds of thousands of lives by giving them the proper equipment to safely land on that beach.
This moment of New Orleans history is part of WDSU's Making 300, celebrating 300 years of our city's rich and unique culture, sponsored by the historic New Orleans Collection, preserving the history and culture of Louisiana for over 50 years.
Steve Harvey's taking suggestions for his new daytime show.
Shave the mustache. Really? More dancing. More celebrities. That's why I'm moving the show to Hollywood. Kangaroo boxing. Nope. Funny animal tricks. Steve on the trapeze. These feet don't leave the ground. Start taking a spinning class. Wow. I know I could use some spinning.
Coming this fall to WDSU.
Somebody
in New Orleans, there's nothing better than the classics like the Dewdrop Jazz Hall. World's oldest country jazz hall right here on the North Shore. When it comes to classic music, this is the place to be. And when it comes to classic TV, TV is my lifeline. You know it's Me TV New Orleans. Ain't no place like it. Yeah, peace out, Simone.
Watch Me TV New Orleans over the air on 6.2, Cox 108, and Charter 185.
Natural hair is setting a new standard in newsrooms across the country. Women of color have stayed away from wearing their natural hair for years until now. Natural hairstyles tend to be the trend these days, so you'll see everything from natural coils to braids to curls. That's a huge contrast from the relaxed, straighten, and weave options that women started doing to fit in mainstream America.
Well, my first relaxer was at the age of 14. And I had pretty long hair. I have pictures of it. It was pretty long. And, you know, I was a teenager and I wanted my hair to be straight. I went to a majority white school and that's how their hair was.
Of course, we know we've been dealing with a mainstream image of beauty for a very long time, but I think now that we have asserted our own power and redefining our own image of beauty, it is expanding and changing to what we want it to be.
Transitioning to natural hair also means saving money. The cost to care natural hair is far less expensive than chemical-based hair care and weaves, which require routine maintenance.
Award-winning actor, best-selling author, and philanthropist Hill Harper made a pit stop at NABJ Thursday. Harper served as keynote speaker at Toyota's Professional Development Lunch. He focused on the impact of media on corporate social responsibility and consumer behavior. Harper emphasized the importance of sharing the wealth when it comes to social media following. He also talked about how consumers can flip their followers into dollars.
And if we leverage each other in that way and help each other build followings in that way so we can reach people directly, we don't have to go through a distribution channel, then we're not giving away $1 or our power.
Hill Harper is the author of 4 New York Times bestsellers. He has earned 7 NAACP Image Awards for his writing and acting. The Sports Journalism Institute celebrated a milestone. They welcomed the 25th class to the prestigious program Thursday night. The Institute has alumni in news outlets across the nation. It's a 9-week program for college students who are pursuing a career in sports journalism. Leon Carter and Sandy Rosenbush founded the Institute in 1992. The goal is to increase newsroom diversity.
You know, you hear things that it's a family atmosphere, but you don't really see that until you're in the class. And, you know, this is a group of people that actually looks out for you.
For more information on the Sports Journalism Institute, you can find a link on the NABJ website.
Turning now to weather, even though there has been some rain in other parts of the New Orleans metro area, here in the city, storms were not an issue.
Justina Sharp is here with a look at the weather. Do people need to keep their umbrellas for the last few nights?
Absolutely, Donnie. Do not be fooled by tonight, folks. We can tell that it's clear outside. It seems like a beautiful night, but it is not over just yet. What we're looking at as we move into tomorrow morning is some storms passing overhead. You can see them right here in the New Orleans area right now. It's appearing quite clear, but here, as we check the radar, come those storms getting ready to just blow us over as we move into Saturday. You'll also begin to see some rising temperature with that. As you can see, the clouds will go overhead, and then we're looking at our forecast. You'll see those storms, and they're going to bring rain with them. As we blow into Saturday, it's also chances are that there's going to be lightning and a little bit of thunder, but don't be too worried and just hold on to those umbrellas you got earlier. As you can see, the temperature outside in New Orleans right now is a lovely 82 degrees, but it is humid, so beware for your hair. Hopefully the clouds will clear up in time for us to witness the Perseid meteor shower we've been talking about all week. Wherever you are, make sure that you go outside, get away from the city lights, and look up for those meteors. Our overnight lows are going to drop to the mid to upper 70s. And then as we move into the Saturday afternoon, you're going to see high 80s and low 90s. It's going to be a hot one, folks, because it will, you guessed it, still be humid. If you're taking part in tomorrow's red dress run, you've got about a 40% chance of rain, or as I like to say, a 60% chance of it not raining on you. Either way, a red umbrella would not be too bad of an accessory to add to your ensemble. Then it's time for Dirty Linen Night on Royal Street with art and attitude. Starting at 6 p.m., you're going to have a mostly cloudy evening, some scattered rains, and it's going to be about 85 degrees. Then the temperature will drop, as they say in Louisiana, to 80 degrees in around 9 p.m., and it will again be warm and humid.
All right, thanks so much, Justina.
NABJ sports reporter Cecil Hannibal joins us now with a look at the Saints' first preseason game. It wasn't bad at all, was it?
That is correct. The black and gold had some shortfalls, but the rookies found a way to shine. I'll tell you all about that coming up next.
New Orleans' leader in breaking news is WDSU News.
Every morning brings new stories to our lives.
And new questions. Do I need the umbrella?
How are the highways? Is there a slowdown I should avoid?
WDSU News is live, local, late-breaking coverage that you can get anywhere, anytime.
Your day starts fast, so start it with a news team that's up to speed.
WDSU News This Morning, weekdays starting at 4:30, followed by the Today Show.
When I think of jazz, I think of New Orleans. When I think of New Orleans, I think of jazz, and I think everybody does. There are a lot of different locations where the roots of jazz started, one of which is Congo Square. People would get together and play drums and dance and sing and play music. The tipping point for when jazz starts is right after Plessy versus Ferguson in 1896, because that decision meant that the African Creoles, who played a kind of light European-oriented classical music, were forced to compete for jobs with the African-American former slaves who were playing kind of more raggy, blues-oriented music. And when you combine those two, that's basically what becomes jazz. You can't understand New Orleans and you can't understand America in general unless you understand jazz.
This moment in New Orleans history is part of WDSU's Making 300, celebrating 300 years of our city's rich and unique culture. Sponsored by Xavier University of Louisiana, helping students leave ready since 1925.
6 minutes may not seem like a lot of time.
But when severe storms threaten, every minute counts.
Here at WDSU, our radar gets you the information you need 6 minutes earlier.
So if a tornado is developing, I can tell you about it that much faster.
It's time you can use to get your family to a safe place.
So during severe weather, you can count on our team to get you fast, accurate information on air, online, and on your phone.
The WDSU Weather Team, live, local, late breaking.
So let's not start pretending that we care about wins and losses when it comes to preseason games. Yes, if you're a Saints fan, you don't want to see your team lose to the brutal Browns in any setting, but at least the Saints left healthy for the most part, with a good bit of positives at the same time.
Let's start those positives with rookie running back Alvin Kamara.
Kamara on second and short, bust out of the pack.
He had 2 very explosive runs on his way to 35 yards on 4 carries. Tommy Lee Lewis just continues doing what he's done throughout camp. Highlight play after highlight play.
Over the top. What a grab.
Lewis's diving catch was just one of his 10 catches to go along with 124 yards and 1 touchdown. Catching is what Ted Ginn didn't do.
Back of the end zone, and it's dropped.
Dropping an easy TD pass in the end zone, something the Saints are hoping won't carry over into the regular season. Now, Sean Payton was very pleased with the starters on defense.
And batted away.
They didn't allow a first down in the first quarter. Ken Crawley even broke up a pass in the end zone on 4th down. Haoli Kakaha showing after 3 knee injuries, he can still get to the quarterback like the Saints need opposite of Cam Jordan, while the defense as a whole racked up 4 sacks, including 1 from linebacker Stephon Anthony. Now, some of the bad explained by Payton, lack of situational awareness, substitution issues, and penalties as the game wore on.
I like the way we contested the ball in the secondary early on. I mean, that first group I thought did a good job. Some guys had real good performances. Tommy did some good things, and yet there are a few things that you look at and you got to get those cleaned up. So Alvin had a few plays early on. It was encouraging. I thought it was good to see Manti out there a little bit, and you know he's making progress. That was encouraging.
The Jags drafted Leonard Fournette 4th overall for a reason, and that's to be a franchise bruiser on the ground for the team. And he showed glimpses of that last night against the Patriots, rushing the rock 9 times for 31 yards, including this 2-yard run as Fournette and the Jags took care of the Pats 31-24 in Foxborough. As for his teammate at LSU, Malachi Dupree, scary moment for him as the Packers were hosting the Eagles. He takes a big hit from Trey Sullivan. He was taken off the field on a stretcher. The former John Curtis star is in concussion protocol, but tweeting, "I'm okay, glad to be back at work today with my brothers."
To left, Stevenson, yes! He did it!
Speaking of former LSU Tigers, one of Paul Manieri's best players, Andrew Stevenson, making a game-winning catch last night, literally game-winning. It was the final out of the game as Stevenson helped his Nationals beat the Marlins.
Seriously?
New Orleans' leader in breaking news is WDSU News.
Every morning brings new stories to our lives.
And new questions. Do I need the umbrella?
How are the highways? Is there a slowdown I should avoid?
WDSU News is live, local, late-breaking coverage that you can get anywhere, anytime.
Your day starts fast, so start it with the news team that's up to speed.
WDSU News This Morning, weekdays starting at 4:30, followed by the Today Show.
Let's see. Bottled water, batteries, the WDSU Hurricane Central app. Check.
Are you ready for hurricane season? For real-time tracking of the storms, download the free WDSU Hurricane Central app. Sponsored by Rouse's Markets. You're either local or you're not.
Higgins started building boats in New Orleans in 1931. Throughout the war, Higgins built 20,094 boats. Everyone in New Orleans either worked at Higgins, a relative worked at Higgins, or they knew someone that worked at Higgins. What was done here affected the entire world. The Higgins boats changed the strategy of modern warfare. He gave them the ability for the first time to be able to move men and material from ships at sea to open beaches. No longer did the enemy know where you were going to attack. New Orleanians should be incredibly proud of what this city did during World War II. Because of Mr. Higgins, we saved probably hundreds and hundreds of thousands of lives by giving them the proper equipment to safely land on that beach.
This moment of New Orleans history is part of WDSU's Making 300, celebrating 300 years of our city's rich and unique culture, sponsored by the historic New Orleans Collection, preserving the history and culture of Louisiana for over 50 years.
WRC-TV anchor Jim Vance built a legacy in journalism. Vance lured viewers with his smooth voice and his iconic presence. As a journalist, he went beyond and above to give the truth to his audience.
What recourse does Curtis have now?
For more than 45 years, Jim Vance reported from the anchor desk of NBC4.
Hello, I'm Jim Vance.
His history making in the district in Washington, D.C. carries on throughout the nation. He was anchoring the evening news at a time when most black journalists didn't even have the opportunity to have their foot in the door.
Although Vance was from Pennsylvania, the nation's capital quickly embraced him.
He's had a major influence on me, and I think a lot of males, black males in the city, and just Washingtonians in general, with his straightforward, truthful, real delivery of the news.
Over time, Vance received several honors and awards for his unique storytelling. In 2007, he was inducted into the NABJ Hall of Fame.
The blessings never stop flowing.
Vance's former news director, Camille Edwards, recalls just how unique his style was.
He had a swagger. It wasn't a style, it was a swagger. When he walked in that newsroom, it was like all eyes are on him.
Those who knew him say he was not afraid to tackle the subjects many others would avoid.
He didn't hold back. He'd tell his story, whatever it was.
Thousands of people, a lot of them black men, who are in another struggle for their lives, for dignity, don't have a job, can't find a job, don't have skill sets to even get one and keep one if they could. What do you tell those people?
I love Jim. I miss him. I wish his family the best. And I just want him to know up there that he left such a big impression on all of us.
Vance connected with viewers of all races, generations, and regions.
It is a testament to what's possible, you know, and so for our young journalists coming up, they need to look at the Jim Vances. We need another Jim Vance. Who's the next Jim Vance?
It's not the destination that counts, it's the journey.
You know, I would often see Jim Vance in the hallway at my internship, and he always was a truth seeker, and he made sure he told it exactly like it was.
That's right. The veteran journalist managed to gain his trust of everyone who watched him on television during his 45 years as a journalist.
That does it for this edition of NABJ News for 2017.
And from all of us participating in the student projects, it was a pleasure bringing you all of the convention news. Have a safe trip home.
See you in Detroit.